But Balaji proposes HIMBY, so which is like a horizontal yes in my backyard or horizontal in my backyard. Because if you build horizontally, then you can build quickly and you don't need so many permissions or something. You can build like modular houses, like off-grid, and especially if you build somewhere in the middle of nowhere, kind of, outside of big cities. So the sprawl, which is like building horizontally, like, so the cities are expanding, or let's say villages are expanding. So the sprawl is good when it's in the middle of nowhere, if you build like completely new, let's say, town in the middle of nowhere. That's how the US was populated back in the in the Wild West. So
Hello, welcome back to Mtambo's Desk, a weekly podcast covering deep conversations on technology, philosophy, complex science, and cryptocurrency. My name is Jakub Mtambo, and the following is a conversation with Jakub Simek, a co-founder of Wezesha DAO and an author of Wisdom Enterprising. In today's episode, I'll be talking with Jakub Simek about his article, HIMBY and the Building Man, under the daily Balajism series. And now, dear friends, here is Jakub Simek. Well, first of all, before we dig into this, can you briefly explain the HIMBY and Building Man concept?
Okay, yeah, so you have a Burning Man, so that's like the burner culture. Also, Alexander Bard was talking about it, that it's like on your podcast that we have that in the US there was like every year you have this Burning Man festival where a couple of thousands, tens of thousands of people gather, and they create some kind of like a temporary economy without, like a gift economy without money or something, but they build all these like crazy statues, and they have these crazy costumes, and there is a lot of partying and this and that. But Balaji says like, okay, Burning Man is cool, but we need building man. So it's like basically imagine that you have something like a building Olympics where you come and you build as much as quickly and as yeah, in the best quality you can or something. So that's the Building Man. And HIMBY, it's like horizontal yes in my backyard or horizontal in my backyard. And okay, because there are these like there is these two abbreviations. One is like NIMBY, so it's like NIMBYism. People always complain about NIMBYism, which is like not in my backyard. That's the abbreviation. Not in my backyard. And it's basically people who don't want, let's say, don't want more buildings to be built in their neighborhoods, because let's say then their view will be yeah, they will be worse. So yeah, but YIMBY is like yes in my backyard, but usually it means like in the context of cities, it means like building vertically, so you don't have long commutes, So let's say you want to build to build more skyscrapers. That's like yes in my backyard. But Balaji proposes HIMBY, so which is like a horizontal yes in my backyard or horizontal in my backyard. Because if you build horizontally, then you can build quickly and you don't need so many permissions or something. You can build like modular houses, like off-grid, and especially if you build somewhere in the middle of nowhere, kind of, outside of big cities. So the sprawl, which is like building horizontally, like, so the cities are expanding, or let's say villages are expanding. So the sprawl is good when it's in the middle of nowhere, if you build like completely new, let's say, town in the middle of nowhere. That's how the US was populated back in the in the Wild West. So yeah.
Okay, so it's this like the HIMBY is more of like a wall, like okay, there's a project I think in the Middle East. I think, I don't know, Saudi Arabia, where they're like trying to build a city, but in a wall format, whereby it's like, just one. I mean, like horizontally, that is, but now in a straight line. So there will be no like any other building besides or that wall. So it's like inside that two walls, maybe two walls. In that case, maybe the two walls might act like a perimeter, but inside now the walls, now it's where like the housing will be laid, and it's about like kilometers of and like kilometers of that city, you know. So it's not now having buildings built anyhowly, but now in a controlled way. So it's the same. Is it the same concept?
And do you know why it's like why the walls are there? So it's just like so it's kind of in a controlled way, right, or something. So
Yes,
it's like
kind of in a controlled way.
No, this is, I mean, in a way, it might be similar because it's also like being built horizontally, but it is like just basically the idea is like to build not vertically like skyscrapers, because then they're like it's slow to build them, at least in the West, you know, like you need lots of permits or something. But if you have just like let's say one story building, let's say some prefab, like prefabricated housing, then it's cheap to build, you know, and assemble quickly, and you don't have to have so many permits. So, and especially if, for example, you buy some kind of like remote some land, you could in a remote areas, you could build like a small town within. If you have this building Olympics or something, you could build it in a couple of days or weeks or something, you know. It's like and Balaji explains that there is something, I mean, it's called like man camps or something, but it's like basically it's an industry that builds this kind of like settlements for let's say oil rigs or people in oil and gas industry, like let's say when they are like in some remote locations, like digging some wells or something like that. So you could build like a small city or village or something quite quickly, like with today's technology. You know, you can use like shipping containers, or you can use some other modular kind of containers, prefabricated houses, and then it's kind of it's interesting also from another point of exit. You know, then it's easy to exit. Like for example, if the community then okay, this is a bit different because, like, let's say if there is already you are building it within some kind of community or within some or let's say you are building a startup city or some kind of like a network archipelago or something. But I think all these kind of projects should be checked by exit, meaning like how easy it's to exit that place. You know, like let's say, for example, in my country, like we used to be Czechoslovakia, people couldn't escape Czechoslovakia when you wanted to flee. Let's say it's like maybe you've seen something like in Cuba, when they want to flee, they have to use some kind of boats or something. And for us, you know, people were like more than 300 people were shot on the at the borders when they were trying to like jump into Danube River and then swim to Austria. But they were not shot by the Austrians or something, but they were shot by their own government, own police, like a border patrol. And so this is like you know, this is kind of what is kind of generally unethical, is like when you don't want your people to leave, you know, it's leave the country or something when they want to escape. Or when they want to search for a new life. So the easiness of exit. So all these kind of experiments, let's say you build a new community using Web3 and using, I don't know, like some ideas by Balaji, like from startup society to network union, network archipelago, and so on and so forth. But it should be checked by exit. So how easy it's to exit. And so if you have, let's say, if you build a skyscraper, you can't like just like take the skyscraper and move it, like let's say to the next village or something. But if you have like this modular prefab house, something like and I think we should see some progress in this. So it's kind of So it should be like something like looking like let's say bricks or like looking like normal houses, you know. It shouldn't be just looking at as a cottage or have too much maybe too much windows there, like too much of glass there, because then it's maybe it's not so secure or something. But if you have something that looks like, let's say, traditional housing, but it's like made out of prefab materials, then you can, in theory, like can quickly put it on a like semi on a truck, you know, and just like move it. And you have a couple of containers, but it's like horizontal, let's say 1 floor or 2 floors, and then you can like pack it within a day and move move to another village. So it makes exit easier and kind of less obviously maybe, or something. If the exit is easier, let's say, also crypto makes the exit easier because you don't need to carry gold or you don't need to carry dollars, like suitcase full of I don't know, euros or something, or you can, like, you don't need to have your possessions, let's say, in just like in some kind of in cars or in it can be in NFTs, okay, but then they're a bit volatile. But anyhow, you could be like your possessions could be like dematerialized, so it could be like you have, you know, some, I don't know, some code or some phrase, and you can have like your wealth stored in, let's say, in Bitcoin and or yeah, and or some other currencies, cryptocurrencies. This makes exit easier because you can have less physical possessions, and you can like you can just move to another place or another country, and you can reboot or start your life there. And but this kind of like prefab housing or something, it also kind of makes the exit easier. So it's like one of the things that make the exit easier. And it can be gradual exit. Doesn't mean that you need to exit the
at once
country or something, or exit your city, but it could be like you just start like vacationing in the new location more often or regularly, and then slowly you move, like you spend, let's say, and then after some time you reach like the parity, like 50-50, you spend like a half of year in the new location and half year in the old, and then you can, it can be gradual, you know, the exit can be gradual, but the question is how easy it's to exit. Yeah.
Okay. Well, according to the YIMBY movement, which advocates for more housing in urban areas, it has gained popularity recently. In densely populated cities, this is often involves constructing more high-rise buildings to address the issue of NIMBYism, as you said, or the resistance to building in one's own neighborhood. Well, how does this YIMBY movement differ from, say, traditional approaches to addressing house shortages in urban areas?
Okay, yeah, this relates to our previous articles and also like a couple of our discussions, like about the Starlink arbitrage or the longitudinal arbitrage allowed by Starlink. Let's say you can work from Voi and work for a company based in Vienna, you know, or you can work from Nigeria for a Norwegian DAO, as we discussed also like before. And so this is like the longitudinal arbitrage, where you are arbitraging your location, like thanks to faster and faster internet, and maybe once Starlink will come to Kenya as well, you can work, let's say, from some ranch or some lodge somewhere in Tsavo or in Taita Taveta, and work for a company based in Paris, right? Or but the idea is that it should be kind of close time zones. So it should be, let's say, you can, because now it's like we have like 1 hour or 2 hour difference between Kenya and Slovakia, depends on what months of the year it is. But for example, like Nigeria, it's like now it's currently like exactly the same time zone like with us, at least last time I checked. And so, but 2 or 3 hours, maybe max 3 hours, it's like okay. But if it's like 8 hours, then you can have some logistical problems to coordinate, working across multiple time zones. So, but yeah, this is one thing. So, and then when you have like, let's say, so the technology progress, the internet is much faster, and this means that you could technically, you don't need to leave, you don't need to address the, as you asked, or as you said, you don't need to address the city, the problems of the cities, like meaning just like you don't need to find opportunity only within the city, but you can now work remotely. So that's like what wasn't possible before COVID, for example, because after COVID, this was like a cultural innovation of remote work became acceptable. So that's like a moral innovation, like remote work good or something, like you can build like a network, a union or startup society around it. So that's a moral innovation, because even like, for example, Elon Musk, I mean, we all like him or something, but he's like not so, he's not fond of remote work. So you have like a moral innovation of remote work, then you have technological innovation of Starlink, and suddenly this and technological innovation of Bitcoin and Web3, and suddenly you can build, for example, a new village somewhere where before there was even no telephone signal, if it's like totally remote, but now you can get even like fast internet thanks to Starlink, which means that you don't need to live in a densely populated area, let's say, or some Western big metropolis city where you can't buy any housing because it's like super expensive, or where there are like people that you don't share, they don't share your values, where, in some big cities maybe. And then if you are, let's say, conservative or a libertarian or whatever, or even progressive, doesn't matter, you might live in some areas where the people don't align with your values, so you want to move somewhere else, and suddenly you can build even like your own communities, villages or towns in totally remote areas where with very cheap land compared to these big cities, at least. Yeah. So that's the difference. Therefore, now this new approach of like HIMBY, like horizontal in my backyard, is feasible. It's like people don't change, but what changes is technology. And technology, like, for example, this is also what Balaji talks about, and also Alexander Bart talks about a lot about this, like people are constant, but technology is the variable or the thing that changes. But there were many ideas and ideals since the beginning of humanity about like equality, about freedom, about this and that. But what makes it possible is actually technology, or what makes this progress. It's also like, okay, moral progress is important, or moral innovation. Let's say remote work is okay. It's a moral innovation during COVID. But what makes it possible, feasible, is like innovation like Zoom and fast internet. So like we are now talking on Zoom, and that's the technological innovation. So we are talking about moral innovations, like, I don't know, within the context of startup societies, but we are talking on Zoom, and you are in Kenya and Slovakia, and we have a fast internet. So that made it possible. Before, we all would have to move, I don't know, to Silicon Valley to interact with Balaji or with Balaji's ideas. Maybe before internet, we would need to, I don't know, just visit some library or something like that in some bigger city to get the book or whatever. Now we can all interact online on the internet, and from anywhere in the world. Yeah, almost anywhere.
Yeah. Well, how might decentralized finance and decentralized science contribute to the creation of physical infrastructure in remote locations?
Yeah, okay. So this is like the concept of like reversed tornadoes that Balaji talks about. So imagine a tornado like going through a village and taking houses apart and like lifting them up and destroying houses or something. And now imagine like a reversed tornado where there is nothing, like in a remote location, you have like just like savanna or something. And then suddenly Web3 and DeFi helps to crowdfund territory and crowdfund real estate. And let's say with these prefabricated houses, suddenly you have like a reverse tornado building houses, not destroying them. So that's no, that's how the DeFi can be used productively. Because currently there is a lot of criticism that like crypto is just focused on crypto. You know, it's like it's just like totally like just like on its own. You know, like some crypto projects are investing in another crypto project, and it's like oh, it's not connected with the real economy, you know. And the criticism is right, but it's also because crypto is super early. It's like internet in 2000, in the year 2000. So yeah, I mean, it's a right criticism, but it's like because it's very early. But these startup societies, network unions, network archipelagos, and let's say some startup cities, and this like HIMBY approach of horizontal build out and sprawl is good. Can be financed by DeFi. Basically, you can have something like a crypto-REITs, like a real estate investment trusts, and then you can. It kind of solves the NIMBYism actually, because you don't own your flat directly, let's say, but you own a share in the city, which is interesting. You know, you are like then you are not against building another house. But it's more like it's more win-win because you have equity in the whole village or whole city. So it's not just your house, you know. It's like you can own the whole city. I mean, just like a part of it, you know. It could be like newly built place, and let's say like a gated community, but you don't own just like one apartment, but you own a stake in that gated community or the city or cul-de-sac, some kind of group of houses or something.
Okay. As you wrap up this conversation, how can Web3 technology facilitate alignment within communities and address the limitations of both capitalism and central planning?
Yeah. So this is the idea that you could create something like crypto-REITs, so like real estate investment trusts, and you could own not just your apartment, because if you, for example, if you own just, let's say, your house or your apartment, then you have an incentive of like a NIMBYism, not letting other people to build apartments next to yours, because then you will you know, you will not you will have a bad view or something. Your view will get destroyed, or let's say there will be too many houses and not enough parking lots, or not enough spots in the kindergarten or something like that. So but if you don't own your apartment directly, but you own the whole city, then you kind of are directly aligned with with the prosperity of the city, of the whole, or let's say town or small village or something. But you want the whole village to prosper. So of course it doesn't mean that it should be like should be somehow regulated, of course, how much is being built there. But the more or if you have some kind of smart regulation around that village or that city, everybody benefits. It's you know, if there are more housing built, maybe more people who are like high income people or like high skilled labor or something will come, and the whole city will benefit. But you will also benefit directly. That's the difference from the current economy, because you can actually, you know, it's like you have the tokens to your city, and they're like immediately redeemable. So it's not like just having, let's say, some investment, some investment certificate or something that is not so redeemable. But like Balaji talks about these DeFi metrics, that the DeFi metrics will be to this decade what the social graph was to the last decade. So it means like, okay, loyalty will become very important, because exit is super easy with like crypto and with Web3. So meaning like you own your stake in the city, which actually means that you can just sell the stake and leave, you know.
Mhm.
You know, if the city is not managed well, you know. So it's kind of like the management of the city is checked by exit, because you don't want many like quality, high income, high net worth or something people suddenly leaving the city, like what happened to San Francisco. Like we discussed about it before, you know, like Elon Musk left to Austin, to Texas. They basically trying to actively kick out their best and the entrepreneurs from the city, because they're just super woke or incompetent as well, you know, in San Francisco. And so you have like high rates of crime and homelessness and this and that. So and but people, you know, the apartments, or I mean the real estate there is still expensive, because it's kind of, it has its brand or something, and it's not so easy maybe to leave the city once you live there for a long time, or to sell your house is also quite complicated. And actually it's also kind of people are not aligned. So actually if you have more and more homeless people, let's say in some areas, then the other like rich and super expensive areas on the hills get more expensive. So it's kind of like counterintuitive, you know. Sometimes it's like some people actually can benefit from homelessness, like because the price of their real estate goes more up than the price of the real estate in the affected areas goes down. So it's all, Peter Thiel talks about it as well. So talked about it recently. So yeah, I mean, this is like in the city, it's like the company, if you own the equity in the company, it kind of aligns everyone, because everybody will either go up or will benefit, or the price will go down, and everybody will lose if they mismanage or misbehave the company. And the same kind of can be done for any community or village or city with Web3.
Jakub Simek, thank you once again for your time at Mtambo's desk.
Thank you, Duke. Take care and see you soon.
That brings us to the end of this episode. If you enjoyed listening to Mtambo's Desk podcast, please subscribe, give this episode a thumbs up, and be sure to come back next week for another episode. Until then, this is Duke Mtambo, and don't forget to do good always.